Welcome back. Joining me now for a roundtable discussion of the NCAA Tournament is Brice Burge and Sean Kelly. And guys, let's start with the Midwest Regional, where Louisville is the #1 seed. Brice, who do you see coming out of there?
Louisville is gonna come out prevailing. They're the #1 seed overall. They won the Big East, both regular season and conference tournament. And there's not really anybody that I can see in that bracket that's gonna beat them. Michigan State is the #2 seed in that bracket, and they really have shown their weaknesses in their Big Ten play this year, and I think that Louisville will be able to capitalize that as well as other teams along the way. So,
for me, I have also Louisville coming out of the Midwest bracket. As Brice said, they're the Big East champions. It was the toughest conference, maybe one of the toughest in college basketball of all time. And they were the regular season and playoff champions. So they've really proven themselves they can win the big game. And as you said, Michigan State, the #2 seed, that's going to be a challenge for them if they both match up, which would be in the Elite Eight, providing they both get there. I think Louisville will get there, and I have them winning the Midwest.
I've got Louisville as well. Big East regular season champions and tournament champions, toughest conference of all time. So, and they've come off 10 straight wins. They're the hottest team in the nation. They're a great defensive team. Rick Pitino always has his team ready to go. So I like Louisville as well. Let's move to the West bracket, where Connecticut got the #1 seed and Memphis is #2. Who do you like there, Brice?
well, I like Memphis. UConn and Memphis were the two teams that were fighting for that last #1 seed, and a lot of that I think has to do with a little bit of bias against the CUSA. The CUSA is a lot harder of a conference, and I think that they deserve credit for. And I think that kind of play and spirit, as well as the immensely improved free throw shooting of Memphis, is going to come up. I also think that UConn will have a big problem with Purdue. Purdue has been picked as one of the more sleeper picks by a lot of other analysts, and they're going to be ready to cause some havoc in the tournament this year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. What about you, Sean?
I have UConn coming out of the West. The only problem I see with UConn is potentially with Memphis, who I feel should have been the final #1 seed instead of UConn, but that's in the past. Memphis playing in the CUSA, as Brice said, may have been overlooked just a little bit for the #1 seed. UConn did play in the Big East. As I said, it was a very tough conference, and they lost a thrilling 6 overtime game to Syracuse, but they still secured the #1 seed, and I have them coming out of the West.
I've got UConn coming out as well. They're battle-tested in the Big East. They've got arguably the best player out of the Big East, and Hasheem Thabeet, and they've got quality wins. They've got a win over Louisville this season, so I definitely think that UConn will come out of this bracket. Well, moving from the West to the East, where Pitt is the 3rd Big East team to get a #1 seed. Who do you like there, Brice?
Well, I definitely like the Pittsburgh team here because this, out of all the other regionals, seems to be the most straightforward that we have. There's not really anybody that is primed for upsets or shocking anybody besides maybe Virginia Commonwealth over UCLA, but neither of those two really had any strength to advance further than that opening round game. So even with Duke as that #2 seed, I think with Pitt's more physical play and vengeance for what happened in the Big East this year, I think they're going to come out and play strong.
I have to disagree a little bit on the East with you on this one. I have the Pittsburgh Panthers losing to Xavier in the Elite Eight. And I don't have Duke making it past the Elite Eight either. I have Villanova beating Duke in the Elite Eight, setting up a Xavier-Villanova. That's Sweet 16. I have Villanova and Xavier setting up a Elite Eight matchup with Villanova going on to the Final Four out of the East.
I think in this bracket, a lot of people are sleeping on UCLA. This is an experienced team with Darren Collison. 3 years he's been at UCLA. Every single year he's made in the Final Four. I don't think UCLA is going to reach the Final Four this year, but I do think they could get to the Sweet 16. My pick is going to be the Pitt Panthers. from the Big East, number 1 seed there. They've got a veteran point guard in Levance Fields, and I think the key for them is they've got the best postgame of any team in the country with the combination of DeJuan Blair and Sam Young. So, guys, finally we've got the South bracket where UNC is the number 1 seed. Who do you see taking the South?
This is actually my lowest seed to win it. I'm going to pick Syracuse, the number 3 seed, over both Oklahoma and the number 1 seed North Carolina. I think that with Oklahoma still having their problems when they finished down the year, especially in the Big 12 tournament with that upset that they had, and North Carolina still playing without
Ty Lawson.
Yeah, Ty Lawson is his name. I'm not sure if he's going to be back in time to really be effective, kind of like other players in the past that have had injuries and then try to restart in a tournament like this. It doesn't always happen as effectively as some people think. I think Syracuse, with their 7 overtimes in the games in the Big East tournament this year, has really showed that they've got the endurance to last longer than other teams.
Yeah, Johnny Flynn especially can play all night.
And I think that endurance, both mentally and physically, is going to lead them out of this bracket.
I have ultimately Oklahoma coming out of the South in the bracket. But on Syracuse, I have them losing to Oklahoma in the regional semifinals, the Sweet 16. I just think Syracuse doesn't have enough left in the tank if they go this far. They left it all on the court at Madison Square Garden in the Big East. And, you know, they did play 7 overtimes combined in 2 games. And it did, you know, provide moral standing for them and maybe boosted them up a little bit in the seedings. But ultimately, I think they lose to Oklahoma. My upset pick actually comes in this bracket with Butler defeating UNC in the second round. I think Butler's largely underrated in this tournament. I think UNC is highly overrated in this tournament. They did deserve the number 1 seed, however. But I have Butler and Gonzaga meeting in the regional semifinals, with Gonzaga winning and Oklahoma prevailing over Syracuse, and Oklahoma prevailing over Gonzaga to reach the Final Four.
Interesting, 2 mid-majors. Well, I'm going to disagree with you guys. I really do like North Carolina. This is Tyler Hansborough's senior year. We mentioned Ty Lawson earlier. If he's not back, then I don't think North Carolina is going to be able to do it. Whoever they play in the second round is going to be a tough matchup, whether it's LSU or Butler. Both of those won their respective conferences. But as long as Ty Lawson is back, I really like this North Carolina team. They're a veteran team, and I think they've got what it takes to get it done.